Hey guys, welcome to Medifaction. Today we will learn about the anatomy of submandibular gland. So the submandibular gland is the second of the three major head salivary glands after the parotid and before the sublingual gland. It is situated both superiorly and inferiorly to the posterior aspect of the mandible in the submandibular triangle of the neck, and it also makes up part of the floor of the oral cavity. So, in order to learn more about the submandibular gland, let's get started. In this video, I'm going to enumerate an introduction, the coverings of submandibular gland, the superficial part and deep part, the submandibular duct. We will also discuss about the blood supply and lymphatic drainage, followed by the nerve supply, submandibular ganglion, also some important clinical anatomy related to it. Introduction. This is a large salivary gland situated in the anterior part of the digastric triangle. The gland is about the size of a walnut, weighing about 15 to 20 grams. It is roughly J-shaped, being indented by the posterior border of the mylohyoid, which divides it into a larger part superficial to the muscle and a small part lying deep to the muscle. Coverings. The gland is partially enclosed between two layers of deep cervical fascia. The superficial layer of fascia covers the inferior surface of the gland and is attached to the base of the mandible right here. The deep layer covers the medial surface of the gland and is superiorly to the mylohyoid line of the mandible, which is right here. So this is the superficial lamina of the fascia. This right here is our submandibular gland. Now let's move on to the superficial part. This part of the gland, this is our superficial part of submandibular gland. So as I was telling, this part of the gland fills the digastric triangle. It extends superiorly deep to the mandible up to the mylohyoid line. Inferiorly, it overlaps stylohyoid and the posterior belly of digastric. It has three surfaces: an inferior surface, a lateral surface, and a medial surface. Relations. The inferior surface is covered by skin, platysma, cervical branch of facial nerve, deep fascia, facial vein, and also submandibular lymph nodes. Lateral surface. The lateral surface is related to submandibular fossa on the mandible, insertion of medial pterygoid muscle, and also the facial artery. The medial surface right here is related to the mylohyoid, as you can see here, the hyoglossus right here, and also the styloglossus muscle from before backwards. This is the styloglossus muscle. Okay, moving on to deep part. This part is small in size. It lies deep to the mylohyoid and also superficial to hyoglossus and the styloglossus. This is the hyoglossus and this is styloglossus. Posteriorly, it is continuous with the superficial part round the posterior border of the mylohyoid. Anteriorly, it extends up to the posterior end of the sublingual gland. This is the outline of sublingual gland. So this is the anterior aspect. Okay, now let's talk about the relations. Laterally, we can observe the mylohyoid And medially, we can appreciate the hyoglossus right here. And above, we can appreciate the lingual nerve with submandibular ganglion. This is the lingual nerve, and this right here is the submandibular ganglion, which we will be explaining later. And below, we can appreciate hypoglossal nerve. This one is the hypoglossal nerve. Okay. Now let's learn about the submandibular duct or Wharton's duct. Right here. It is thin-walled and is about 5 cm in length. It emerges at the anterior end of the deep part of the gland and runs forward on the hyoglossus between the lingual and hypoglossal nerve. At the anterior border of the hyoglossus, the duct is crossed by lingual nerve. It opens on the floor of the mouth on the summit of the sublingual papilla at the side of the frenulum of the tongue. So this is the Wharton's duct or submandibular duct. Now let's learn about the blood supply and lymphatic drainage. The submandibular gland is supplied by the facial artery. The facial artery arises from the external carotid artery just above the tip of the greater cornua of the hyoid bone. The cervical part of the facial artery runs upward on the superior constrictor of pharynx deep to the posterior belly of the digastric and stylohyoid of the ramus of the mandible. It grooves the posterior end of the submandibular salivary gland. Next, the artery makes an S-bend, that is, 2 loops, first winding down the submandibular gland and then up over the base of the mandible. Facial artery is palpable on the case of mandible at the antero-inferior angle of masseter muscle. The veins drain into the common facial or lingual vein. Lymph passes to submandibular lymph nodes. To understand better, this is the facial artery arising from the external carotid artery. It is very tortuous in nature. This one here is the masseter muscle. This is the anterior aspect of the masseter muscle. Here it arises. It has a tortuous course and it ends or terminates supplying the lacrimal gland at the medial part of the eyes. So this is our submandibular salivary gland. Nerve supply. It is supplied by branches from the submandibular ganglion. 3 branches conveys here. First is secretomotor fibers. Number 2 is sensory fibers from the lingual nerve. This right here is the lingual nerve and this right here are its sensory root. Third one is vasomotor sympathetic fiber from the plexus on the facial artery. Now let's learn about the submandibular ganglion. This is a parasympathetic peripheral ganglion. It is a relay station for secretomotor fibers to the submandibular and sublingual salivary glands. Topographically, it is related to the lingual nerve, but functionally, it is connected to the chorda tympani branch of the facial nerve. The fusiform ganglion lies on the hyoglossus muscle just above the deep part of the submandibular salivary gland, suspended from the lingual nerve by 2 cords. So, it starts from the superior salivary nucleus. Moving on, it reaches the nervus intermedius, facial nerve, chorda tympani. Then it joins the lingual nerve branch of V3. Here is the submandibular ganglion, which on future relates with the post ganglionic fibers Finally, the submandibular and sublingual glands. Some important clinical anatomy. The submandibular lymph node lies both within and outside the submandibular salivary glands. The gland is to be removed if lymph nodes are affected in any diseases, especially carcinoma of tongue. Number 2. Mylohyoid muscle divides the gland into superficial and deep parts. Lymph nodes lie around and within the gland. Cancer of the tongue or of the gland may metastasis into the mandible also. Number 3. The duct of submandibular gland may get impacted by a small stone, which can be demonstrated on radiographs. Secretion of submandibular gland is more viscous, so there are more chances of gland getting calculi or small stones. Number 5. The submandibular gland can be manually palpated by putting one finger into the mouth and one finger outside in relation to the position of the gland. The enlarged lymph nodes lying on the surface of the gland and within its substance can also be palpated. So here is the submandibular gland. Number 6. Excision of the submandibular gland for calculus or tumor is done by an incision below the angle of the jaw. Since the marginal mandibular branch of the facial nerve passes posterior-inferior to the angle of the jaw before crossing it, the incision must be placed more than 4 cm below the angle to preserve the so-called nerve. The nerve also passes across the lymph nodes of submandibular region. One should be very careful of the nerve while doing biopsy of lymph node also. Hope you have understood the video. Like, subscribe and press the bell button for more videos. Thank you. Thanks for watching.